So I pulled some stuff
Welcome
together.
back, everybody. We are here.
Welcome back.
This is Engineering Money, and we are here to make you money. Okay?
That's right.
I That was either a bird or someone just yelled outside my front door.
I would
Maybe
probably assume
Oh,
it's a murderer.
no,
maybe
it's a
the
cat.
bird was yelling.
I forgot there's a
Oh,
cat
it's a
here.
cat. All right, it's
Does
Joey's
it
week.
yell like a person?
Let's see what he can say that can make all you listeners 50% on your investments in the next 20 seconds.
We don't give
Well, all right. Well,
financial advice.
the answer is micro caps. Boom. 20
Ooh.
seconds, 50% return added. That's all I have to say.
Wait,
All right, episode's
microcaps?
over. We're done.
What I
Like super
need,
small
if you
companies?
allow me more time than 20 seconds to elaborate, Ben.
Oh, no, I'm saying they need to make
I
the
know
money in
previously
20
we've been talking
seconds.
about rebalancing, and I mentioned it as kind of my overall strategy. It's a good way to put kind of upfront effort in to making your plan, and then you can just execute it almost thoughtlessly and just know that you're going to stay balanced with those percentages that you've already decided on. It makes it really easy to not have to check your portfolio every single day to do
Mm-hmm.
rebalance. But
Boom.
what I've been thinking about this week is how rebalancing doesn't have to be your whole strategy, but it can be kind of a guide that other more, I guess, more popular for active traders strategies can fit into. And I'm thinking things like following technical indicators, market trends, or news events, things like earnings coming out, or things where you're not just looking at a specific percentage to hold this stock. You're saying I want to time it right as well because this earnings report is going to be great or whatever. And the way that I've been thinking is a nice way to combine the two is you can base your timing off of your in-depth research. If you're looking into Facebook or whatever and saying, all right, this earnings season is going to be really good for them. I want to make sure I
Mm-hmm.
buy more Facebook. Then you use your rebalancing strategy to tell you how much Facebook to buy. So timing on one part and the amount on the other.
But
Because if you've already decided I want this percentage of tech stocks and mega cap stocks in my portfolio, you'll know how much room you have to to fill with Facebook.
okay, you're saying rebalancing by a sector point of view, not just with individual stocks.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of the way I have things set up right now is I have it based on sectors to rebalance, but then you don't need to I think I should preface this. The kind of conventional way to do a rebalancing strategy is to say pick a frequency. Maybe you rebalance every month, every quarter, and that is when you rebalance your entire portfolio.
Hmm.
Mm.
The way I'm looking at it is each week I might want my whole portfolio to get rebalanced over the course of a quarter, but
You're doing it like
each week I
in
can look at like
sections.
one thing and say, okay, this looks like a good time to buy Facebook. Let me make sure I buy it up to my rebalancing amount. So
Hmm.
essentially, Facebook is now rebalanced to the proper percentage, but maybe the rest of my portfolio still has some room that it needs to move.
So essentially,
Nice.
it's no different from when you're playing Age of Empires 2 and you periodically look at your workers and what exactly they're up to and potentially getting more
Oh, it
to
exactly, Ben.
rebalance.
It's the rebalancing you can think of as the build order, your
Ah.
meta, if you will, whereas going by technical indicators is really your micro.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you also you want to always be making workers, and that's dollar cost basis averaging.
Right,
Growing
exactly.
your money, your
Yeah.
the number of dollars.
Villagers in Age of Empires pay for themselves in 24 minutes. So, no,
How
it's
long
way
does a
faster
dollar
than that.
take
Yeah,
to
24, that's so long.
It's something like they pay for themselves 24 times over in the course of an hour.
how
Mm-hmm.
many
So, villagers are the best things you can invest in,
does it change throughout the
hands down.
game like money would?
Yeah, because if you upgrade your villagers, they're going to get more efficient.
Boom.
You're going
Yeah.
to increase your returns.
Okay, so Joey, how can you translate that to the stock market?
Well, let's think.
Well, what
So, if you're translating that to the stock market, this is where you're looking for companies with good dividend growth, where
like
you're buying
AT&T.
them now because you
Bang.
expect them to continue giving you not just more money, but increase the rate that they're giving you money.
And I don't know if AT&T is the best example. They're
'Cause they
cutting
just
their
cut their
dividends
dividend.
by like 44%.
They just did?
No, they are with their divestiture, if that's how divestiture of the media portion of their company. They're cutting
Yeah.
the dividend by a large amount.
Yeah.
But you do get the spin-off, so.
Well, here, let me give you an example I have pulled up that is a good one. Accenture. Accenture,
What's the
No,
ticker?
it's just Accenture.
ACN,
Yeah,
has very
it's
stable
Accenture.
dividend growth.
Joey.
Yeah, come on, Joey. I bought some Accenture because you said to.
Yeah, I like them a lot, and they are a very large cap stock. But this is where I mentioned microcaps in the beginning because I like to have within my different stocks I'm choosing, I'll have some very large caps like Accenture. This is standard blue chip stock. They're growing a lot. And the way I see it is as Accenture grows and gives me money, I take that money and invest it in something that might not be doing so hot right now because it's not a blue chip stock, but has great potential. And that's your micro caps.
I
Yeah,
see.
and I'd read a book recently where the author was like, if you think about it this way, you invest in a company that you think maybe short term might go up, not like day to day, but less than a year, and then what it appreciates, you take out your original investment and then you keep what it appreciated to, and then you can think of that as just a free
Yeah,
stocks that you just have, and then you can use that base money to go and do that somewhere else.
right. And it's almost the flip side of standard rebalancing. Whereas if you bought one stock and it goes up a ton and now you're rebalancing, assuming
Yeah,
everything else stayed relatively the same, essentially you're taking your earnings and
yeah,
putting them somewhere else,
yeah. What
as
I was saying
opposed to
is,
keeping only the earnings
yeah,
and moving the other
exactly.
stuff. But and the way I would look at it is your mega caps are going to be the ones to do standard rebalancing with. But if you picked a good small cap and now it's suddenly up 50%, then you should probably go the other way around, keep only what you've gained and move that initial investment to the next small cap that you think is going to get that big growth there.
A bird hit my window a few minutes ago.
Oh, did you know something like 3 billion birds die every year from crashing into
Billion?
windows? Yeah.
It can't be billion.
Or it might be 1 billion. I think it's 3 billion birds die from household cats.
Oh, yeah, no, it is a ridiculous number for household cat. Household cats are a menace to neighborhood ecosystems.
They're a menace to
So,
society.
Tim, it sounds like your grandma's house is terrible for birds.
No, this cat doesn't go outside. She's like 17 years old.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
but my other point I wanted to bring up on microcap stocks, they are how you stick it to the man.
There you go.
Because
Yeah.
they are the one way that you can beat the markets.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might say, oh, but Joey, look at professional investors. Even professional investors don't beat the market usually.
Mm-hmm. And
And
they're
that's
not investing
the
in.
thing is they can't invest in small caps. These micro caps that are maybe worth $100 million, that is like one position. That's like one move for a big hedge fund is $100 million. They're not going to buy out the entire small cap company, so it's
Well,
just
yeah.
not viable for them to invest in small caps.
Well, even that they wouldn't want to buy out the entire company, but if they buy like even just $5 million, they'd have to submit forms to the SEC that they're going to be a 5% shareholder,
Hmm.
and that then that just a lot of times they're not allowed to do that in a hedge fund.
Yeah.
Is become a 5% shareholder.
But we can, and
Yeah.
that's why I want to bring up one of my favorite recent micro caps I've been looking at. I forget if I
Okay.
mentioned this a few weeks back, but Hire, HYRE, Hire Car
Look up the
Inc.
Oracle.
So before you deep dive into this one, how do you find your micro caps, Joey?
Well, the way I've been doing it recently, because if you remember, I guess 3 weeks ago now, I was telling you about my venture into sectors and sector investing. And
Yeah.
I look within a sector, I want to have however much money, and I just search for stocks in that sector. And what I try to do is make sure that I have within each sector a spread of capitalizations. Um, but through any good stock screener, you can choose your market cap that you're looking through, and so that way you can hone in on those micro caps. But when I'm looking for one that I actually want to invest in, it needs to either be, I don't know, some kind of moonshot company where I think it's going to have tremendous growth potential right now, or something else for it looks really good, like fundamentally. It's got great dividend payout and growth, or it's just incredibly undervalued right now because a microcap stock can go way undervalued and stay under the radar and no one really notices.
Yeah.
So whereas if something like Google takes a 20% dip, then everyone is going to be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so undervalued now."
Do you see a lot of microcap stocks with dividends? Because I wouldn't think that they would have that.
It depends on the sector.
Let's
I'll
do
tell
a
you the financial sector,
micro.
you'll find a lot.
Oh, okay. And what was the ticker of this company, Joey?
HYRE.
All right, so here we got. So this is my favorite screener, Finviz.com, free,
Yeah.
easy to use.
We talked about it in the past.
Yeah. So I just went ahead and filtered microcap with a positive dividend yield. And it looks like we got 22 pages times 20
Okay.
stocks. So quite a few. I'm sure a lot of them.
They're out there.
I'm sure it's heavily weighted towards real estate and finance. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Because that
Joey?
tends to be for a small company in finance. It's like the whole point of the company is just to give shareholders money, and that's the dividend.
Yeah.
So, Joey, I'm interested why you like Hire, because I'm looking at their financials, and they're making more and more money, but then they're losing more and more money. Well,
Right.
they're
So Hire
revenue's
is one of
going up,
those
earnings are going
examples where I'm not. This is not one that I think you should buy because it's undervalued or has great fundamentals. It doesn't pay a dividend. It's one of those moonshots right now where I think, well, I should say what they do. Essentially, they are a system to rent out cars to people to then use as Uber or Lyfts.
Gotcha. So
And
you
so
think if they get
as
to
I
if they get
think
their
in the
economies of
future,
scale going, then they can become more profitable?
oh yeah, that's the thing. They're microcap right now, but I think they could easily expand. Like there's nothing. They don't need to build buildings. They can be wherever people are willing to use their app. So
Yeah. And I think, regardless of whether you think Uber or Lyft are, good companies and going to be around, I think the idea of an Uber or Lyft service is here to stay.
yeah,
Because
it's like it just makes sense that there's these assets like cars that are just laying around most of the time, and things like Uber and Lyft make them get used more. So
Mhm.
it's just an inefficiency that went away with the invention of these apps.
Speaking of cars and rentals and things, have you guys heard about Hertz recently?
I know they went bankrupt a while back.
Yeah, well they just got bought out.
Oh, dang.
Whoa.
So if you they're going private, I think.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. It happened it was announced in April, so about a month ago. But yeah, they'd been trading, I mean, at their lowest, they went down to like 50 cents or something. Um, and they're being bought out at $8 a share.
Dang.
Dang. Oh yeah, they had a big jump there. That news.
That's
Well,
crazy.
I think it's $8 a share. So I don't know why it's currently at 660, because then you could just, make.
Well, it's the doubt that
Arbitrage.
the thing might not come out.
That it might not actually go
Not
through.
go through. It goes back down to
Gotcha.
50 cents.
True. In other news, did you have more to say, Joey? Because I've got a bunch of ideas going around in my brain right now.
Oh, let them fly, Tim.
Well, Ben, we're getting pretty close to your entry point on crypto.
10.
Oh, yeah.
What
Oh.
was my entry point? 10,000.
I think it's
10,000
10,000
on
for Bitcoin.
$10,000 Bitcoin.
$10,000 Bitcoin is my new entry point. Yeah, I said that how long ago? A few months ago.
A couple months.
It was a while ago, yeah.
Shoot.
But we are getting there.
I'm gonna buy
So
100,000
Just
bitcoins
lost like
if
half
it
its
gets to
value
10.
from its peak.
Has it lost half its value?
From the very peak, it's about there.
Man. Yeah, it's been a free fall.
Well, I bet
Ben,
part
there's
of
still
it.
20.
So, is it crypto? Like almost all cryptos are going through a dip right now.
Pretty
Or is
much.
it-
Because
is
we're
it
still
mainly
in the
Bitcoin?
phase of the world where everyone knows Bitcoin and they're a lot less likely to know any other cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
So for a lot of people, Bitcoin's crashing, time to sell all of my
I
crypto.
see.
But I will say, I think, well, there was a point where Ethereum was crashing a lot less than Bitcoin.
Right. And that was when there was the Elon Musk raised concerns for the environmental impacts of Bitcoin farming. And so then Bitcoin crashed, whereas the cryptocurrencies that don't use that system don't take up so much energy, they stayed
Mhm.
higher. But yeah,
Yeah.
Well, part
uh,
of that too, like the environmental cost and treating that as like a negative thing. It's kind of a red herring because the whole point of Bitcoin is that over time it will become harder and harder to mine because
Right.
there's like theoretically
right,
there's
it's literally
infinite
built
amount of
into
them,
the system.
but it gets harder and harder as more and more get mined, just like any other natural resource. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and people have also compared it to, like, if you were to add up all the energy used by our financial system with all the offices and everything, then
hmm
I don't know. But I do think proof of stake is much better, because then people aren't buying up all the graphics cards that I want to use in my computer. Um, and that's another reason why this dip is making me very happy, because hopefully these miners will buy less graphics cards and I will actually be able to get a 3060 Ti that I've been waiting for months for.
there will be a new equilibrium, and it's just like any other natural resource. It's going to go through this, where the price is going to dip, so the people mining will stop mining because it's not cost effective. Then the availability of them will stop or slow down quite a bit, which will
Or people
over
want
time
it more.
will drive the price back up to a certain point where the miners are like, okay, we can do this again. They do it until it's a cycle.
Yeah.
Cycles.
And Ben, I think you should raise your entry point to 20,000.
No,
I don't think it's going to get back down to 10,000.
good for me then. Means
Yeah,
I don't
for
need
them, he
to
doesn't
put
have
any
to.
more money or any money into it.
But I'm looking at it now. Its peak was at just about $65,000 a Bitcoin. It is down now to 33,000 about. So
Cool, we're halfway there.
See, and the interesting thing is, on like Coinbase, it tells you what, much like Fidelity, it tells you what people on the platform are doing, buying or selling. And people on Coinbase, for just about all of the cryptocurrencies, are majority buying, even though the prices are tanking. So that means the small time investors are cashing in on the dip.
Nice.
yeah,
All right. Put in the description your favorite flavor of hot dogs.